Hello and welcome back to another video. So today we'll be going over the best system builders for just kind of a general sense, not necessarily a specific sense in terms of customability, but just kind of overall sense. And the reason why a lot of people might be looking at a custom system builder is they might not have the selection of parts that they would want in a desktop system, or they want to add their own kind of personal touch to how they're doing it. Now, again, I would highly recommend building your own PC if you're actually looking at custom parts, but some people would rather have that warranty with them or just have the backing of a company so that they're able to get repairs and stuff like that if they're not up for the task. Now, building a PC, I think, is something that everybody can do, but for the sake of this video, we're going to be going over the best value and the best just overall experience being able to build a PC online and have it shipped to you. Alright, so we're going to start with a couple of guidelines for this video. The main guideline is going to be $1,000. It's going to be our price that we're going to try to hit around and get the best value for. I picked $1,000 because that's pretty much the limit or like the kind of sweet spot that a lot of people will save up for to get a nice PC. And $1,000 PC should last you for a decent amount of time. But I think $1,000 is pretty reasonable for most people, so that's where we'll be going for all of these sites, seeing the best kind of thing that we can be offered at that price. And we're going to be trying to just get the best value out of these system builders. So we're going to start here on Xidax. So the whole entire layout of the main page of this website, it's kind of tricky, and I had to spend a couple hours on this. I didn't think these were just individual cases. These are just cases. It's kind of weird. I thought they were different systems, but they're not. They're just cases. So this is a micro ATX case. It's pretty budget. This is a mini ITX case. So if you really want like the really small console kind of thing, that's what that is. And then you've got an ATX case, and then these are kind of like better RGB and lighting cases. But we're not going to be going with any of those. We're going to be going with the micro ATX case, because I think this is where most people would probably stick around. ATX really doesn't make a huge difference. It just kind of goes at a premium. Yeah, it doesn't really offer a whole lot for people who aren't really PC enthusiasts, so we're just going to go click on the X2. And we're actually going to go with AMD, and we'll do one with Intel to see which one we can get at a better price point. So we're going to go with AMD A series. And we're going to go with the window because we don't necessarily need tempered glass, and I don't really like having tempered glass being shipped. It just kind of makes me a little bit worried in case like it comes and then the whole thing's completely cracked, and then I have to send the case back, send everything back, and I've got to wait another week in order to get my system. Or week's probably pretty generous. It'd probably be more like 3 to a month. So our case is going to be just the regular window. Now that brings our total down to $576. And our motherboard, we're going to be going cheap. We're not going to be overclocking, but I would like extra RAM sticks. So we actually can overclock on this board. Not very well though, because there aren't really any cooling for the VRMs. So we're just going to be leaving this. I wanted the 4 RAM channels because a lot of people like those RAM channels, just so that they can upgrade later on in the future. Alright, so the CPU we're going to be going with, in terms of all of them, none of them are really great pricing, but we are going to go with the 3600 just because it is pretty much a staple of CPUs nowadays, but that brings us up to $703. So our budget's getting a little bit crowded here. Now, in terms of memory, I do want at least 16 gigs. 16 gigs is where we're at, and I think that's pretty much the staple for $1,000 PCs is 16 gigs of RAM. Our power supply doesn't really matter at this point. It's a 500 watt bronze. That's what I would want. Optical drive, we don't need it. Capture cards, don't need it. Wireless. I would add a wireless card, but most people who are again paying $1,000 for a PC are most likely going to have it right next to their router and using a hard connection, so I'm not going to add one in here. Graphics, we're going to be going with, wow, integrated graphics. They don't have integrated graphics on that CPU. That is kind of crazy. Yeah, the processor that we picked does not have integrated graphics, and they say that I can choose integrated graphics on the system. That doesn't make any sense. Actually, I'm going to go with the 1650 Super. The 5500 XT is going to have better performance by a little bit of a margin, but the 1650 Super I think is a little bit better. But it's not the kind of graphics card that I would want at this price point. Now, going on to storage, well, this is basically going to be the end of our budget. Going up as much as we possibly can is going to be 500 gigabytes on that M.2 drive. We don't need any others. We're just going to be using a 500 gigabyte M.2. Cooling, we're just going to go with stock cooling. I might be able to throw in a pure, yep, actually I'll throw this in. So we're at $1,008. That's a decent cooler. And then as far as everything else goes, we don't need that. These are all the extras. So in terms of our system, I think we actually did pretty good. So now that you've gotten the AMD side of it, I also wanted to try the Intel side of it. Because in terms of selection from the AMD side of the processors, it wasn't great. I definitely would have liked a 2600 in there. Or, you know, something just like a little bit, you know, to throw in a little bit of a price advantage that we know AMD has. With Intel, though, it's kind of weird because a lot of system integrators and a lot of OEMs have special deals with Intel, and so they will push Intel chips to a certain degree. So we're going to see if we can have any sort of a better, you know, any sort of a better experience with building a Intel case. So we're going to go with the same case. Going to go with a, yeah, this is kind of the same motherboard, roughly. I would like to go with the i5. Now this is worse in multi-threaded workloads than the previous CPU that we picked, because it does not have hyper-threading, but it's not terrible. And we're sitting at $1,009, so this is $1 more than the AMD system. Depending on who you are, I mean, this is going to give you less performance than the AMD CPU from the first one. And they're going to have roughly the same single core performance, and you're actually getting a worse cooler on this one. So the Intel system is actually surprisingly at a premium compared to the AMD system. So that's it for Xidax. Now, I'm not really going to give a decision on them just yet because we haven't gone through everything. I'll give a final decision once we know we go through everything. But as of right now, they're not too bad. This is what I would expect from an OEM doing custom parts. So we're going to go on to the Nzxt Bld feature. This is Nzxt's BLD website, and this is where you're actually able to sit down and customize the parts inside of your PC. And this is a little bit more of a premium solution to it. So we're going to go with three pretty popular games, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Fortnite, and Grand Theft Auto. Now as far as picking your price, it kind of sucks because you only get $1,000 to work with. So we're going with $1,000, and of course we're going to configure with AMD because AMD is just a lot easier to fix price points in. I did do an Intel part of this, and the minimum you could get was $1,100. Sorry, it was $101,000, and as far as this goes, the base is $1,078. So it's a little bit easier. As in terms of cooling, you don't have any water cooling because, again, I think Nzxt sees themselves as a premium brand, so they have all water cooling for every single CPU that you have, no matter how much heat it might or might not suck in. It's just like, it's a nice feature, but I think I would rather have an air cooler, especially when you're just trying to hit that $1,000 price range. Now, our motherboard that we can pick, there's a couple of them. B450 Tomahawk is actually a really great motherboard, and it's at a decent price. I would like a micro ATX, but it seems on all their build options they only use ATX boards. Micro ATX are great for budget because it's a smaller board, there's less components on it, there's less complexity to it, so you know, that's a little bit different. Now the GPU that we're going to be going with is the GTX 1660 Ti. This is the only one that we get at this price point because they don't offer anything on the AMD side in terms of GPUs. And as CPUs go, we got to go to the lowest end, guys. It's kind of sucks, but again, That's what we have to go with. It's a Ryzen 5 2600. It's a great CPU, 6-core, 12-thread. It's pretty good for gaming, and it's really good for multi-threaded applications. Power supply, again, we got to go with the default stuff. Everything really we have to go with the default stuff, especially with the RAM. Storage, I would like to go up to 500 gigs, and that's $19 more. So we're basically $100 over our Xidax PC, which isn't great. And as far as all this other stuff, we don't really need any of this other stuff. This is the main hardware that we are sitting here and talking about. I mean, there's not much you can do here. I mean, there are a couple pluses. You are getting a better graphics card. You're getting a better value CPU. Your motherboard is pretty great, and your cooling is also pretty good. Again, all these components I would see as very reputable and, you know, are going to last you for a long time. But the only difference is budget. And to be honest, it's not going to be the best for all of your system uses. I still would like to see better GPUs at this price point, but a 1660 Ti is what I would expect. So that's going to be our custom building websites. Now we're going to go to our pre-built website and see how much better we can do compared to the other two systems. Alright guys, so we are here on CyberPowerPC. This is their easy PC builder. It's not necessarily a PC builder, but I'm going to show you what happens with this and why it's such a better option than going through a custom configured PC build. Go to desktop. And we'll go and say, let's do $1,100 because that is what we chose for the last one at Nzxt, Modern Warfare, Fortnite, and GTA. There is no preference, no preference. Now, the different PCs that you can pick are actually pretty great. The best option right here is the best option that you can get. This is way better than both of the PCs that we picked from last time. It's got a Ryzen 7 2700X. This is an 8-core 16-thread processor. It'll beast through any sort of workload or game that you have to go through, as well as an RX 5600 XT. This PC is definitely capable of streaming. It's definitely capable of doing any sort of video task or any sort of gaming task. It will destroy all 1080p games that you want to play, and it'll be great. Now, there are 23 other results that you can look from. Now, there is a customized feature on here, and as much as you might think that you can swap out parts, or I might just be doing this wrong, but the customized feature is a little bit different than what you might expect. So you're not actually able to swap out core components or anything like that. There's no option to swap anything out. You are the customization part of it is adding different parts to the system. So like you'll have accessories, like, man, I still think this is kind of going weird. I'm not quite sure. So, guys, definitely leave a like on the video if this informed you, if it was entertaining, or if it was whatever. Leave a dislike if you didn't like the video. That's perfectly fine. But I would definitely like to hear what you have to say down in the comments. If you didn't like it, because, you know, any sort of criticism I get, or constructive criticism I get, definitely helps me make better content for you guys and see what you guys want to do. So yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll should be in the next one.